welcome everyone to TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. I'm your host, TJ, I'm sure as you would guess, and with me here, as always, is the Grumpy Old Man. They say there is no shame in his game because he is always the same.
That's me.
Grumpy, how are you doing this fine Thursday evening?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm happy. You know, in the last few times we've been going live, we've been covering the Tampa Bay Lightning against the Colorado Avalanche. We haven't really had a chance to go too in depth as to what's been going on in the sports world. So, you know, we're going to take a deep dive into that today, Grumpy. How could you not be excited?
I'm excited. Okay, I'm excited. You happy now? You know what else? You know what would really make me excited? If you wore a full shirt.
And it begins. For those of you who are new to the show, welcome. This is a twice-a-week sports podcast. We talk all things sports. We talk NBA, MLB, NFL, college athletics, NHL. We talk anything and everything sports. We talk European soccer, literally anything and everything sports. We go live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you're new to the show, make sure you stick around a while. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, and follow on Twitter, Grumpy Old Man. You know, since our last podcast, I guess that we actually talked about sports and not just about the NHL finals. Man, a lot's happened. We could start off with some hockey quick, you know, just a few housekeeping items. Obviously, the Colorado Avalanche beat the Tampa Bay Lightning in 6 games to win, you know, a Stanley Cup, Grumpy, to win their Stanley Cup. And since then, we've had a few interesting hires, you know, out there in the NHL world. The Detroit Red Wings, as well as the Boston Bruins, have got themselves a new head coaches.
Yeah, a couple of uninspiring hires, if you ask me.
Really?
Yeah, Jim Montgomery is a retread. You know, he's getting paid. Oh, look at this. This Uncle Fester is going to be coaching the Detroit Red Wings. Do you know who Uncle Fester is?
And no, Grumpy, but this Derek Lalonde. Lalonde, I'm sorry. I can't speak either or read. But many know him as an assistant coach from the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think he was the assistant coach for the Lightning for the last 4 years, right? So he was there for their 2 cup runs or their 2 cup wins in this most recent year. You know, the Detroit's they've got a young team. They obviously feel, energetic about their coach hiring. It's going to be a guy who could grow and kind of build a team around what he would like. They've got a lot of young players and a lot of molding to do in that team.
I also think that Steve Yzerman, I think their time overlapped a little bit when Yzerman was GM of Tampa.
Yes.
Maybe he was in the organization, so that kind of helped him out as well. He was getting worked up on the bench. That much I do know. Where Cooper was kind of calm and relaxed, he was kind of worked up on the bench. In this,
there's nothing wrong with having a little bit of energy.
No. I'm just saying I just remember him being a little agitated up behind the bench.
And this is a guy who worked his way up. He was an assistant in college coaching, you know, through 2003 to 2011, then went the USHL route, ECHL, AHL, and he's been that NHL assistant coach from Tampa from 2018 till present day. So until he just recently got signed. So again, was there 4 years with Tampa. You know, think about it. He was there the first year when the guy got run out of they lost and they got swept. What did they get swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets in 2018-19? Gotcha. Yes. He was there the year they got swept. He was there for both cup years, and he was there most recently when they just lost in the Stanley Cup Finals. I know you said an uninspiring hire. I don't know. Stevie Y knows him. He's familiar with him, and he kind of knows what he's getting in him.
When I was thinking uninspiring hire, well, he's not an inspired hire, okay? But, you know, he's a stepping stone guy. I don't think Detroit's ready to win a Stanley Cup or even compete at this stage. Maybe he's just the next level of coach. I don't know. Maybe he'll be there longer. But when I was speaking about uninspired hires, I was thinking more about Jim Montgomery for the Bruins.
Okay. Well, let's start off here talking about this. You're right. You talk about he was there pretty much the entire year in 2018. So he did have that about 1 year with Derek here. How do you pronounce his last name again? One more time.
Fester. First name Uncle, last name Fester. Lalonde.
Lalonde.
Derek Lalonde.
Derek Lalonde. So he was there with 1 year with Lalonde through 2018 before he joined the Red Wings in April 19th of 2019. So after the season, after they got booted in the first round, or in the first round of the playoffs. So he was there, did have familiarity with them. Oh, well, hold on. I'm showing it. I forgot he resigned on September 11th of 2018 with 1 year remaining on his contract. Oh, I'm sorry. No, he remained as a senior advisor. Okay, gotcha. So he started, and that's when Julien Brisebois took over. Okay, so he was still there. He was familiar with him. Maybe not as a general manager, but he was still familiar with him. I think that Stevie Y said he wasn't renewing, and they kind of started to groom somebody new for the role. Long story short, Stevie Y does have experience with him. This is the Red Wings move. Maybe he's a stepping stone coach. Maybe he's a guy who can stick around a while. He does know what it's like to win Stanley Cups. He's been a part of Stanley Cup winning organization before with the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not upset with the hire. And now you said Jim Montgomery, uninspiring hire, huh?
Yeah. I mean, look at the contract they gave him. 3 years, $2 million per. I don't know. What do you think what do you think they're expecting from him?
Montgomery didn't do poorly in Dallas.
Okay.
What do you mean, okay?
Did he ever win anything?
Grump, how many coaches win anything? There's one fucking coach a year that wins something. And sometimes when your team wins more than once, the same coach who won last year wins again. I mean, like, I don't know really what. Now, you're talking about this is from Kevin Weeks. Again, so it's a done deal that Jim Montgomery is the head coach now of the Boston Bruins. I'll tell you this much. Again, they're not going to rebuild. There's no way you can convince me that. You don't bring, Bergeron doesn't come back and say, yeah, let's go ahead and do the rebuild. I don't think, at least. And on that 3-year contract, I have to assume that they're going to still in win now mode.
Yeah. Like I said, that's why he's the coach. He's another transition guy.
Really?
Yes. I don't expect him to be there in 3 years. Like I said, you're going to have to transition away. The Bruins are in a situation where they got some older players. Their younger players aren't that good, or they're taking too long to develop. But the best players, their core guys, are all in their 30s with no one really ready to step up. Maybe Pasternak, McAvoy. But, I mean, you're talking about, Marchand and Bergeron. They're like the heart and soul of that team. I mean, and they don't have a whole lot in between, if you know what I mean. So it's like
Taylor Hall produces for them.
Okay,
McAvoy produces for them. Jeremy Swayman's a good goalie. They have pieces still.
Okay, I did mention McAvoy.
I'm sorry.
And Pasternak, but Hall's in his 30s also. Okay, but
Marchand and Bergeron are 36 and 38 respectively?
No. Bergeron, I think, is 36, maybe 37. Marchand's like 33 or 34.
Marchand's not 35. Okay.
No.
They're getting up there in age too, right?
What I'm saying is their core players are in their 30s. Their best players on their team, with the exception of McAvoy and Pasternak, are all in their 30s. They're a team in transition. They're very similar to where the New York Islanders are right now. Very similar.
Okay. Bergeron, 36 years old, turns 37 in less than a month. And Brad Marchand is 34 years old. So, I mean, those are guys who are big producers on their team, up there in age. I still think they're going at it one last run. I don't dislike the hiring of Jim Montgomery, right? He had a short leash in Dallas. He only coached there for 2 years. And I'm wondering, is that time period when he coached in Dallas, he was fired midway through the season in 2019, 2020. Was that the time period when Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn were shit talking the general manager, or shit talking ownership? Because remember, they had that issue back around, I can't remember what time period it was, but I remember that Tyler Seguin, and maybe it was Ben, I can't remember who it was. It was Stars on. It was the very, very upper echelon of the Dallas Stars players were not very happy with the situation.
Yeah, I don't know what the exact time frame of that was. I know what you're talking about, but I do not remember the time frame. But the whole thing is, Jim Montgomery was there for a year and a half. I just don't think he's not the answer for Boston. And right now, like I said, they're a team that, like it or not, they're in transition. Without a doubt, they're a team that's in transition right now. So like I said, I think next year maybe they don't even make the playoffs. I know they had over 100 points this year, but they seem like a team that's on the downside for certain.
So this was the time period. This was the same year when Jim Montgomery was fired. The CEO also came out and ripped Jamie Benn, because I can't remember everything that happened. The CEO, Jim Lights, came out and ripped Jamie Benn and Tyler Sagan, and I remember were like a taxi cab being recorded and didn't say some nice things about ownership or maybe, you know, the big wigs with the Dallas Stars. I do remember something like that happened around that time period. So that was under Jim Montgomery. I wonder if that also had to do with his early departure there from the Dallas Stars in 2018-19 season.
So let's say, let's just say he wasn't running as tight a ship as you would hope.
Yeah. Well,
right?
I'm sorry. He was fired in 2019-2020. So that did happen under his command, but he did make the playoffs that year, but it did happen underneath his command.
Okay. So let's just say that he doesn't run the tightest ship, or the players weren't listening, or they just thought they could do whatever they wanted. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what his coaching style is. It seems like losing is what his coaching style is. When you're only there a year and a half, something's wrong. Something's wrong. I'm just not overly impressed with that hire. That's all. But, you know, like I said, they're a team in transition, without a doubt. They're a team in transition.
The year he was fired, Rick Bowness took over the team and made it to the Stanley Cup Finals and lost to Tampa. Okay. So that was the year Jim Montgomery was coaching the team for the early half of the year. Then he was fired. Rick Bowness picked up things, and he brought the team to the Stanley Cup Finals.
I want you to think about it. Rick Bowness was a better coach than Jim Montgomery. I don't think anyone says Rick Bowness is a top 5 coach in the league. They don't. He's more of an interim guy, stopgap guy. I realize they had a little bit of success in Dallas, but I mean, how many teams has Rick Bowness coached for? 6, 7? He was with the Islanders. He was with Ottawa. He was one of the Canadian teams. I mean, he's bounced around a lot, right? I mean,
he has. He's a guy who never won anything either, but he's a guy. He's one of those coaches that's a steady Eddie, I think is the nicest way to put it.
And he was able. So that team obviously had talent, and Rick Bowness led them to a Stanley Cup final, and Jim Montgomery lasted a year and a half. I just, it's an uninspiring hire. But you saw they were looking at College Quinn as a potential hire. I'm like, really? Like I said, they're a team in transition. I think they know it. They just gave Don Sweeney a big contract extension. I don't know how the hell he got a contract extension as GM. He's been failing, in my opinion.
Got a few comments I want to go through, Grumpy, moving away from some NHL. Just wanted to start by talking about some news NHL wise, right? Because we've got today, we're going to also talk about Kevin Durant wants away. He wants out of the Nets. He wants out of the Brooklyn Nets. You've got your situation where USC and UCLA is going to be joining the Big Ten as early as 2024. We're going to be talking about that. Logan Paul signs a contract and deal with WWE. You know, let's reserve judgment. Let's wait until we get to that part of the show, Grumpy. Let's wait till we get to that segment. You know, I can only imagine the take you're going to have. I know you love Logan Paul so much. We're going to talk about some inopportune felony arrests by Miles Bridges right on the eve of NBA free agency for, you know, domestic violence. So we're going to talk about that, and we'll talk about the latest on the Deshaun Watson suspension. Hearings seem to be over. They're going to have some sort of resolution, something that's coming up soon. We'll talk about the rumors that are surrounding that as well. But let's get to some comments, Grump. James F. saying, what's up, guys? What's up, James? He said, you hear that Durant wants out of the bets instead of the Nets. I love it. Today is the anniversary of the Nets getting him. Oh, we'll talk about that. My gosh, you want to talk about a failed superstar team, the Nets.
Then you look at, you know, a lot of players had the opt-ins or opt-outs.
We'll talk about Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook taking that opt-in, signing that huge contract. What, $42.7 million to stay with the Lakers.
What was he going to say? No. You know, they were hoping he'd opt out.
After a poor year, I want to say no. Anyway, tough loss by the Yankees today, 2-1 loss. And are you guys worried about the Mets slipping? Only 4 games up, and the Braves are losing today.
Okay, Braves are defending World Series champions. They're not going to just go away. The Mets, when the Mets get their pitching staff back, they're going to right the ship.
After the All-Star game, right, you're going to have ideally Max Scherzer and Jacob deGrom back. So those are two huge pluses on that team. We've got a lot of injuries to pitching. I'm a Mets fan. Got a lot of injuries to pitching. So, that's something I hope that, will be fixed going forward. My boy Taijuan Walker still chugging away. Chug-a-chug, Grumpy. Chugging away like a freight train.
Yeah, okay. And also just Kyrie Irving also opted in New Jersey. These guys, he wanted to go somewhere else. He did not want to return to Jersey, but he's got a lot of baggage. And I think, when you get to be a little bit older and you see the money, it's like, you know what? It's not worth it. That's what teams look at. If you're a problem child, you just don't get that benefit of the doubt. And that's in all sports.
You mean the Brooklyn Nets, correct?
Yeah, what did I say?
New Jersey Nets.
Okay, they used to be.
I had to double take it. I'm like, are they
the Nets.
Okay, gotcha. The Nets. Drew L says everybody's going to hype up the Astros that just beat the Yankees in a regular season series. Let's just wait until the playoffs and see what happens. Also, TJ, check the DMs. I sent you. So, Grumpy, I've got this for you. Drew sent this, and he said he's got a live reaction, by the way, as to what Nets fans feel like, Grumpy old man, believe it or not.
They look excited.
Grumpy, you're wearing the same freaking shirt. No. Oh, this is a slightly different shirt. This is the one with the big Grumpy's groupies on it. Go ahead and stand up a little bit so we could see it. There it is, instead of the small one, but a different variation of the shirt. But the Nets fans right now, yikes. Think about what it's like to be a Nets fan. Think about how much optimism you had for the team, right? James Harden at one point, Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant. You're building a superstar studded team. How could things go wrong, Grumpy? This is it. We're finally rebuilding back the Nets.
I never looked at them and said, wow, the Nets are contenders for the title. they just don't look. First of all, James Harden, what's the thing he does best? Grow a beard, right? At this stage of his career. Kyrie Irving, always hurt. You never know what the hell he's going to say or do from one minute to the next. Kevin Durant, he's a true professional, and what a shit show. That's what he's thinking to himself. He's not saying it, but he's thinking that. One year he's like, I don't want to be here anymore. It should tell you something, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about more in depth. I just can't get over that. Anyway, James F. was saying, TJ, thanks for thinking of me yesterday when you mentioned the Raiders on yesterday's show. I know it wasn't in good fashion, but yes, I thought of you immediately, James. Tony Queso. Oh, Tony Queso. I like it. He says, make Derek, how do you, Lalonde?
Lalonde. It's not a freaking D. L-A-L is not Ladon. Lalonde.
Make Derek Lalonde's picture in black and white, and he looks like an SS soldier. And we are just so fortunate enough. Tony Queso went ahead. Tony Cheese, Grumpy. Tony Queso happened to go ahead and to send us a picture. Let me put you like this. He does look like a freaking member. Either that, or he looks like he's part of the freaking USSR or something like that in the Kremlin.
He also looks like the original Uncle Fester, Jackie Coogan as Uncle Fester.
Number one, fantastic job on the edit, Tony Queso. He looks like he's seen some things.
Yeah, I'm telling you what, he's got some. I'll tell you what. Well,
he's not winning the prettiest head coach in the NHL. I'll tell you that.
No, he's not. He's not.
Look at that. He does look like a member of the SS. He does look like a member of the freaking the USSR. My God.
Big goose stepping down the locker room steps.
Jesus Christ. Tony Queso.
That's right, Detroit Red Wings. That's your new head coach.
This is your new head coach. I believe that is the actual picture of him, not edited at all, Grumpy. Thanks for sharing that one, Tony Queso.
I wish him luck. I hope he does well.
Drew also said, good to know that the Red Wings hired Humpty Dumpty as their next head coach. He kind of does look a little like Humpty Dumpty too, Grump.
He looks like Uncle Fester.
Oh, man.
Humpty Dumpty was an egg. He sat on top of a wall, and they fell and cracked his egg, cracked his shell.
James F. said, guys, I have a new TJ and the Grumpy Old Man t-shirt idea on a shirt. He said, can he skate?
Can he skate? Got to be able to skate.
A good one. We'll write that down before I forget.
Can he skate? It's the most important thing. Skating.
Can he skate? Sorry, had to take note of that, Grumpy. Joseph C says Dallas in 2020 reminds me of the Canadians in 2021. They got hot at the right time, and Anton Khudobin was great in the playoffs. He certainly was.
Yes, he was phenomenal. I mean, even this year, whoever that goalie was, people were thinking he should be playoff MVP, even though they lost in the first round. He was tremendous.
Yeah. Are you talking about for the Dallas Stars? What the hell is his name?
He was I don't know. He was a newcomer.
A Jake Ottinger.
That's it. Talk about lightning in a bottle.
Man, he had a fantastic season. I do remember that. He was the only thing that was keeping him in games. Drew L says, what are your thoughts on Jalen Brunson?
Doesn't matter what I think. The Knicks are in love with him. And it's a toss-up between him and Dallas, I guess, who the team he was with.
They hired his father as a coach, didn't they?
Yeah.
To get him to come there?
Something like that.
Rick Brunson?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. I mean, he'd help the Knicks, without a doubt. But the Knicks are another team. It's like, okay, it just doesn't seem like their pieces fit together. You know what I mean? It's like they're all kind of jagged and you're kind of jamming them in there. You're ripping the paper off, some of it, and just bending. I don't know. They just don't seem like nothing seems to fit.
Joseph C. said the Nets are such a mess. How many times are they going to put together a big three only not to get out of it, not to get out of the second round?
Well, but here's the thing with those guys. A lot of them were hurt. One of them was always hurt. So they never were a cohesive unit. But to me, the biggest thing that tells you that they're a disaster is Kevin Durant wants to leave after 1 year. That's a problem.
He was if you're there for 1 year and you're saying, I'm ready to go, that you're right. That is a big freaking issue. That is a big issue. A big issue.
And the other two guys are still there. So he was unhappy with that.
Well, Harden's not there.
Oh, that's right. They moved Harden for who the heck?
They've lost right out of the big three. They've lost all those guys within the last year.
Yeah, and Kyrie doesn't want to be there.
Ben Simmons is on the team. Woohoo!
Ben Simmons, that was it. Ben Simmons for James Harden. That's right. I forgot. It was so ugly. I blocked that out of my memory.
Christ almighty, man. I tell you, it's as a Brooklyn fan, you have got to feel
But just think about it. Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving in the same backfield, in the same backcourt. I mean, I'm sorry. That just doesn't work. And he wants out. Now they're just, hey, where can they get traded to? And they say that he prefers to go to the Phoenix Suns. If they could.
I know they had to go. Here's the thing, right? You really think he could win something with Chris Paul?
I think he's more clutch than Chris Paul.
Just signed back with them too, didn't he?
I don't know if he did or not. I mean, but they got Booker. So, I mean, they have some talent there. I mean, they were supposedly the favorites until a couple injuries at the end. I mean, they're hypothetically not a bad team. Here's the thing. I think Kevin Durant fits wherever he goes. He's not I need the ball, I need the ball, I need the ball. He's never been that type of guy. Like I said, I view him as a professional more than some of the other diva players.
He signed. He was still under contract for 1 more year, but he recently just signed a 4-year, I think, $214 million extension.
And that's Durant.
No, Booker. Devin
Booker. Yes. And Booker's going to be there, yes.
That's what I said. I said, right?
I didn't know about Paul. You mentioned Chris Paul. I didn't know if he resigned or not.
No, I didn't think Chris Paul's contract's up.
I don't know.
No, I said originally Booker anyway, because I knew he had just earned himself a big contract. Okay. Let me see. Chris Paul still, I think, has 1 year left. Chris Paul actually has 2 years left.
Okay.
So, my God, yeah.
He's just not clutch. Here's the thing. I don't want the ball in the hands of Chris Paul in the last minute. Sorry. He just finds ways to be bad in big games.
He's at the tail end of his career. It's as simple as that. It's not the same Chris Paul of years past. He's 36 years old?
But what does it say about Phoenix, right? If they're willing to make that trade, because you're going to have to give up a lot to get him.
They know the window is very finite and short.
And they feel they can contend, really make a push.
I mean, how old is Kevin Durant now anyway? He's 30. Kevin Durant's 33 years old.
Okay. I was going to say 34.
By the start of next season, he'll be 34.
Oh, okay. There you go.
I mean,
But
Kevin Durant knows he's only got a limited amount of time left, and he saw how that freaking Brooklyn Nets team was being run. He says, "I got to get the hell out of here." I mean, how many more years realistically you think Kevin Durant has? 4, maybe 5 years left?
3 or 4 at a high level. 3.
I was about to say, play until he's 38. Maybe the last year he'll play he's 39 years old. I mean, like, I'm talking about when he retires. I couldn't see him playing into his 40s.
No.
4, maybe 5 years tops.
And well, he maybe could play that long, but would he be at the top of his powers like he is now? I mean, he's still one of the top 5 players in the game.
When healthy, I think he couldn't argue. He's top 10, right? I don't think you can argue any other way. These guys are top 10 when healthy.
Right, but you're right. His window of being like one of the top guys in the league is closing fast.
You don't stay top 10 when you're 40 years old.
unless you're Tom Brady.
Jesus Christ. Every time. I almost was not about to say it because I knew you were about to bring up Tom Brady. I almost tried to restrain myself because I knew where that was going.
There you go.
Drew L said, speaking of the Nets, the Rockets have 5 of their first round picks that they could swap with Houston. They're going to be a powerhouse like the Celtics in 5 years. Jesus, my God. The Houston Rockets have 5 of the Brooklyn Nets first round picks. Wow, yeah, that's right. They traded them for James Harden.
But they're not going to be using all those picks. They'll use it to maneuver up and down or maybe make a trade for a big player.
I don't know if the Brooklyn Nets, dude, what are you doing if you're the Nets? Ben Simmons and Kyrie Irving? Oh, Jesus Christ.
And Kyrie does not want to be there.
Why did he sign the extension?
He just opted in. He did not sign an extension. He could have opted out. But who the heck was going to pay him $36 million a year? Nobody. So he's like, okay, I'll opt in and hope they trade me. What's the most is getting their money. That's the most important thing, right? He lost out on money last year. Remember, he didn't play the first half of the year because
of the COVID stuff and not getting the vaccine. I remember he couldn't play at the games. Yeah. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving had no contact with the franchise after Irving opted into his deal on Monday. In the sense of inevitability existed that Durant would eventually ask for a trade, sources told ESPN. It happened today. Yeah. Yep. Hikes. So I didn't know Irving was also looking to go, but
if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, well, sorry.
People are always they're looking at Kyrie Irving saying, I've never seen more negative chaos from multiple organizations than Kyrie Irving has caused.
It's true.
You really think it's Kyrie Irving? He's the guy, he's the issue?
Okay, when there seems to be chaos everywhere you go, what's the common denominator?
Yeah. No, I understand. I'm just like, I think James Harden is a guy who causes that type of chaos. And you had James Harden and Kyrie Irving on the same team. Yikes. But
too many big egos.
Yeah, too many Chiefs and not enough Indians.
I just think they could have gotten away with if they didn't obtain Harden with Durant and Irving. But I think Irving kind of went off the rails this year. And, Kevin Durant could only do what he could do. He was really good this year.
He kept pretty quiet, too.
That's what he is.
Reserved guy.
Yeah.
He's one of the glue guys in the locker room. But again, it tells you really quickly once he did that, and I'm not interested.
He's the type of superstar you want. Doesn't bring a whole lot of chaos with him. I mean, when he was with Golden State, you never heard anything. He never complained about his role, whatever it was. I mean, he just seems like a guy who just wants to play and wants to win. That's all. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So in 2023, my God, I'm just looking at the Rockets here. And in 2023, they're going to have Houston or Brooklyn's first round pick, whichever's higher, and Milwaukee Brewers first round pick. In 2024,
Bucks.
Brooklyn. What's that?
Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah. In 2024, they've got Brooklyn's first round pick. In 2025, they get the first. My God, I just think to myself, oof. Brooklyn is going to be bad for a while. And Houston, right, has lucked into these fantastic selections. This is what it looks like. So Houston fans, I'm sure, are celebrating in the streets, getting ready for the Houston Rockets ascension back up the ladder.
Well, particularly if the Nets are bad.
Do you think the Nets are going to be good?
Now, well, I'm just saying, I don't know if the pick is lottery protected in some way, shape, or form.
I
have
didn't
no
see anything
idea.
with lottery protection. So,
Okay.
yikes. Anyway, yeah, what a mess. And do you guys like the Knicks' new additions, Grump?
It's still early yet. Let's wait and see what they actually do. I don't even know who they've picked up. I know, like I said, they're hot for Brunson. That's the big
brought
get.
in Jalen Brunson today.
That what? Say that again.
They brought in Jalen Brunson today.
I thought they brought him in for a visit. I didn't think he signed. Did he sign?
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, he agreed 4 years, $104 million contract.
Okay, I didn't realize he'd signed. Well, that's what they wanted.
Like 4 hours ago.
Okay,
they agreed to a 4-year, $104 million contract.
Okay, that's the guy they wanted. So let's see. He's a good player. Let's see.
I'm trying to pull up what else they did, Grumpy. And that is the big one. Give me a sec.
And I know they wanted him bad. That was plan A, B, and C for their offseason, was bringing in Brunson.
I'm just trying to find everything.
I mean, the offseason just started, so I don't know that they've made a whole lot of other moves. Unless he's talking about the trade where they dumped
away
Kemba Walker, who was bought out by Detroit today.
I mean, it pretty much had to be done. Yeah, the only addition I'm seeing right now is Jalen Brunson.
Yeah,
at the moment. So, and I guess Kemba Walker. I mean, they had to get rid of Kemba Walker. It's as simple as that. I think they made the best decision on getting rid of him in order to free up the space for Brunson. Drew L said, only thing the Nets have now are Jay-Z and Ben Simmons. God almighty.
And neither one of them can shoot a free throw.
Oh, by the way, the video is a Knicks fan reacting, not a Nets fan. Okay, gotcha. He also gave us a video of fans reacting to Kevin Durant being traded.
Oh my God. This is better than sex.
Is there a picture with this?
Hold on. Yeah, I'll show you that. This guy's saying this is better than sex, man.
Yeah, I want to see who's saying that.
He's looking like an alpha, Grumpy. So just be ready for this one.
The way he's shaking.
My God, this is better than sex.
The way his hands were moving, I thought maybe he was pleasuring himself there as he was saying that.
Could have been Grumpy. Thanks for that one too, Drew. Tony Queso says, TJ, I think USFR would have been funny. I went with the Nazis. James F says, I think the coach looks like Daddy Wolba.
That maybe Daddy Warbucks. It was from Annie.
Annie. I've never seen Annie. I know there's animal crackers in my shoe.
No.
Rabbits.
Stop. That's Shirley Temple.
Okay? Shit. Hold on. Shirley Temple's not Annie?
No.
I thought Annie was like a story about this orphan Annie.
Yeah. That's right. That's what the story's about. Little Orphan Annie used to be a comic strip, and Daddy Warbucks was in that strip. Shirley Temple was a freaking actress back in the 1930s.
And she was in the movie Annie or TV show Annie, whatever it was.
Again, no. Sorry.
Christopher C says, TJ, Uncle Fester's from the Addams family. He's the man who blows himself up in the experiments. I didn't know he blew himself up, but I knew he was in the Addams family. Yeah.
And he put a light bulb in his mouth and it would light up.
Oh, gosh.
Jackie Coogan played the role of Uncle Fester, but where he got his start, he was in a movie with Charlie Chaplin called The Kid. So think about that.
James, a long time ago. James F says, I'm hearing rumors, guys, that Dante Hightower to the Raiders. Would you take him?
No, he's finished.
He's
Absolutely finished.
I was about to say the same exact thing. He is right. The Raiders have needed linebacker help. Since they had Hard Knocks on them 2 years ago? They were that was under. I mean, they've needed linebacker help for 2 years, 2+ years, and I guess maybe as a depth piece, sure, but if you're going to expect consistent performance out of him, you might be upset. You might be.
I don't even think is Hightower even under contract with the Patriots. I don't even know if he is or not. I mean, but if he is, you'd be doing them a favor. I think he's out of contract. He might be an unrestricted free agent. I mean, but the whole thing is he was making 11.
He's an unrestricted free agent. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, unless you could bring him in as a vet minimum and see what he's got, but I'm not giving him any money. He can't run anymore. I mean, he didn't want to leave New England. Loved it there, but they weren't going to give him that $11.5 million a year. They don't want him at all. I don't even think they made him a contract offer.
In April, they said they're still figuring out if he wants to play or not.
Yeah. You know what that means? If someone offers me enough money, I'll play. Otherwise, I won't.
Mm-hmm.
He's at that. I mean, a Warrior, beat up, multiple injuries every single year. It's over for him. And that's okay.
Joseph C. said the Knicks made that Jalen Brunson move only to be the best 5th or 6th seed to be at best a 5th or 6th seed in the East. They aren't going anywhere, just spinning their wheels.
And that's the way the NBA is. That's the way the NBA is. If you're in the middle, it's tough to get out of the middle until you go down to the suck zone. But it's tough to get to the suck zone if you have guys where you're in the middle every year.
You need to be in the suck zone for a while, and you need all your suck zone picks. You need to be in the suck zone. You need to have a little luck to win the NBA lottery, and you need to make sure the picks you have don't bust out. So there's a lot of things that have to go right in order to actually improve the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's tough, and a lot of teams are in that cycle. Tough to get out unless you get lucky with drafting someone who turns out to be a generational talent that nobody could see it in.
Mm-hmm. James F says trade Durant for picks. Trade Bailey for Durant.
I agree.
Guys, the Avalanche's parade today. TJ, you got any videos of it? I had a few. They were, the police officers occasionally forget who were members of the team, and Byram, the defenseman, 21-year-old, they thought was not a member of the team, and they said, go back to the side, and they tried to keep him over there, and he's like, dude, I'm part of the team, and kids are like, he's part of the team. I saw a few of them, but nothing.
You know what they should do? They should give them little passes. That would stop
a little lanyard around your neck.
Yes.
Oh, stop. We can stop. Drew L says Kyrie wants out as well from the Nets. They're going back to the cellar dwellers they are.
True.
James F said my son's a Nets fan. Oof.
Tell him to change.
Tell him that, hey, time for us to watch baseball in the NFL a little more this next couple of years.
It's funny because my dad told me a story and about when you get to be a certain age, you ask your father, well, what team should I be rooting for? And my grandfather always rooted for the Dodgers, but they sucked something awful. They were always terrible. So he said, you know what, son, root for the Yankees. So my dad's always a Yankees fan. And, that served him well until the Dodgers finally won a World Series in, I don't know, 1950, whatever. But it was always the Yankees every year. So interesting.
Drew also said, I wonder how Brooklyn would have turned out if they just kept D'Angelo Russell and his posse with Kenny Atkinson as coach.
It's funny because Kenny Atkinson agreed to coach a team and then backed out. It's like, yikes. What does it tell you? I mean, guy takes a head coaching job and backs out.
James F. said, I told my son Kyrie is a cancer in the team. You should trade him just to get him out of there.
I don't think he's focused on basketball. He's focused on other things, which he thinks are more, and maybe in the grand scheme, they are more important. But, dude, your job means that you have to play basketball.
Mm-hmm. Joseph C. said, Durant should have stayed with the Warriors. Left a perfect situation there. Hey, man, the money. You wanted the money.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He got his ring. It's
Yep.
like, okay.
Hey, and guess what? The Warriors said, fantastic. We're going to win. We're going to win without you the year after you leave. So James F. also says here 2 arenas, one in Brooklyn, one Long Island, one on Long Island will be empty next season.
You gotta put winners on the field, on the ice, on the court. You want people to show up, you got to win.
James F. saying, why the hell is he laughing? The Knicks are no better. Drew L. says here, to put a backstory on KD, he got mad at the Knicks media for asking him a question during an interview and basically started beefing with the Knicks. That's why the Knicks fans are laughing at the Nets.
Because he was supposedly locked into going to the Knicks for a long time.
I do remember that for years, right? Or it was almost like an entire year.
Yeah.
The speculation was Knicks. He went to the Nets.
I mean, no big deal. I mean, I don't blame any player.
It's tough to embrace the suck for a Nets fan just because they don't have their first round picks. You're not going to be able to embrace the suck. So,
yeah, it's tough.
Like tanking doesn't do you any good. Christopher C. said, Grumpy, you have to register TJ in cinema school. He has a whole lot of catching up to do there.
It's hard. It's hard. It's really tough dealing with a novice like that.
Drew L. said, well, an underrated failed offseason is Charlotte Hornets, unsurprisingly as well. Failed to get Atkinson and Miles Bridges arrested for domestic violence. Yes.
That's right.
Let's talk about that.
That's right. Atkinson bailed on the Hornets. That's right.
Okay.
And then Miles Bridges. I mean, you are on the verge of getting a max deal, and you get and like 2 days before, or a day before,
Tuesday,
you get a felony domestic violence charge against you. I mean, dude, what are you thinking? What are these guys thinking? Or they're not thinking. Get your head out of your asses, fellas. Just so dumb. It's just so dumb. Dude, you have so much money. I don't know what your beef was with that woman. Cut her loose and get somebody else.
It was his wife.
Cut her loose and get somebody else. I mean,
so it was his wife, and you want to know?
I can't believe he's married. Honestly, I cannot believe he's married.
His wife, June 9th. So earlier on this month, happened to accidentally or maybe on purpose post a nude selfie on Instagram for a few hours for a little bit of time before she deleted it. So I'm going to say that marriage is not doing so hot. Nude pictures by the wife going on social media, and then he's getting arrested for felony domestic violence. Yeah, it said it was to where she got beaten up to where she had to seek medical attention to go to the doctor. It's just like Miles Bridges. You can't be doing that anytime, but you could not have picked the worst time to do that.
You know what? She's probably going to pull remember Tyreek Hill's wife? She's probably going to say, oh, geez, you're not going to get that money. Hold on. Nope, that didn't happen. I fell down the stairs like 6 flights. So no, that didn't happen.
Well, it's funny. We talk about the Charlotte Hornets. It seems like their players cannot stay away from issues with ladies. Do you remember PJ Washington not too long ago, who wound up having to pay, I think it was over $200K a month in child support, as he had like a contract of like $4 million a year. Do you remember that? He was making like next to nothing at the time period, and he was originally forced there to pay, I think it was like $200K a month in child support.
It's just so dumb. What do you think?
He was earning $4.2 million, and he was paying like $200K in child support, $200K in child support a month.
I'm just like, guys, what are you thinking? You know what? Wear a condom.
Well, here's the thing.
Your freaking head.
It was his wife at the time, or his baby mom, I don't remember which one it was, had filed for divorce 2 weeks after giving birth to the child. So little, it was just like, and she, remember, had the video. She's like, you guys need to secure your bag, I think was the exact verbiage she used. Have a kid of an athlete and then go ahead and leave them, to hashtag secure your bag.
There are ladies who do that. Absolutely,
there are. Her silence afterwards. This is her, if I recall.
Pretty girl. Very pretty.
Very pretty. Yeah, very pretty. Very pretty. But yikes! It was for the next 18 years.
Oh, God.
For the next 18 years.
Was it worth it? Was it worth it, PJ? Was it worth it? The answer is
I don't know if
no.
he's actually paying that. I think he disputed the $200K. Maybe it's changed then, but this was last year. And I laughed because originally when I saw this with Miles Bridges, and I thought to myself, I said, wait a second. Is this the same guy who's paying a lady who has one of his children like hundreds of $1,000s a month? And I looked it up and I had to do a little digging. I'm like, well, hold on a second. No, it wasn't Miles Bridges. That was PJ Washington, a different Charlotte Hornet.
I don't understand.
Lady issues seem to be running rampant on the Charlotte Hornets team.
Get yourself a hooker or a call girl.
No. Or you know what you do? Oh my gosh. Find yourself a steady girl.
Yeah, that's that's not going to happen. These young kids like that,
yeah.
You think they're going to get tied? That's a mistake. Don't get tied down. Wait till your career's over before you decide to get tied down. Do what Jeter did. Jeter handled it beautifully. He had everything that moved, gave him the gift basket, and then as soon as he retired, then he settled down with a woman.
Did he want to marry? He used to date Minka Kelly or something like that, right?
He didn't marry her. It was a girl who was doing a DirecTV commercial on the beach. I don't know her name. I just remember that was the girl. And you know what? Supposedly they're happy. Good for him. Good for her. He was smart. Derek Jeter was always smart. Very, very smart. He was not dumb.
Think about that. He would do that scum. If it was anybody but Derek Jeter, he'd be labeled as an absolute scumbag, a misogynistic guy, a man whore. What?
He handled himself so well.
That's what I'm saying. If anybody else was doing that, let's say Tracy McGrady, let's say somebody even who had a good reputation would be doing something like that, they would be burned at the stake. But because it was St. Jeter, though, it was all okay. The biracial, everybody loves St. Jeter. Everybody loved Jeter. Everybody loved Derek Jeter, even though he was doing shit like that. Imagine if A-Rod did stuff like that.
Press didn't like A-Rod.
I know. I'm just saying, imagine if A-Rod was doing stuff like that.
A-Rod's the biggest issue that A-Rod always had is he needed people to like him. And I think it stemmed from, his father not having a father figure in his life. And he always wanted people like him. I like A-Rod, and I always felt bad for him. And I remember when he did that article saying, teams didn't worry about what Derek Jeter was doing. And that's true. I mean, regardless of what they think, A-Rod was an infinitely better player than Derek Jeter.
Yes.
There is no comparison. And A-Rod to come to the Yankees, change position, he's a better shortstop than Derek Jeter, particularly when he was traded for. Much more range, better arm. He was better. I mean, he's better. And you know what? He sacrificed and went to third base. And, because St. Jeter, whatever he wants, he gets. But Derek Jeter absolutely knew how to handle himself with the media, how to handle himself anytime. He never took a misstep. PR-wise, ever.
Even though he did some really questionable things, he never took a misstep in PR.
I don't think he did anything questionable.
Okay, sleazy things.
Sleazy. That's not sleazy. That is not sleazy. He met a girl. Do you want to shack up? Yes. Hey, I'm going to give you the Derek Jeter gift basket. What's wrong with that? It's a gift that keeps on giving. And he never got, here's the thing. I guarantee you, Derek Jeter wore a condom. I'm going to guarantee you that. You think he was going to trust some girl saying she's on the pill? No freaking way.
He wore 10 condoms, Grumpus.
Too smart. He's smart. Super smart. You know what? I got no problem with Derek Jeter and with what he did. It was two consenting adults. It's not like he was going by daycares and picking up girls. No, that's not how it happened.
Anyway.
And they got a gift basket. It was nice. He was thinking about them right till the day they left the door.
Okay, fantastic. Let's move on.
Ooh, get out.
Joseph C. said, I remember reading that Dolan was the reason why Durant didn't sign with the Knicks. Not surprised. There is no more incompetent franchise than the Knicks.
Well, look at the Nets.
The Knicks and the Nets fans. Knicks and Nets fans are not friends. That's for sure, Grumpy. Christopher C. said, contracts are made to be followed, right? Don't you think that KD violated his? I think so. But that's how it is in the NBA. If you want to go, pretty much they have. If you don't let them go, well, then nobody's signing with you because, holy shit, if I sign with them and let's say things go poorly, they're not going to release me. I'm not getting involved with that if ownership won't let me go.
NBA basketball is right where world football or world soccer is right now. And it's been like that in everything. it's been like that in soccer forever. If you sign a contract, but if you want to go, they're going to move you because it's not worth having trouble on the team. If a guy doesn't want to be there and he's not going to put out, it's not worth it. You move a guy. If he's unhappy, you move him. And that's the way it is. That's the way it is in basketball now as well. If the guys are unhappy, you just move them on.
Drew L says here, PJ Washington got baby trapped by some Instagram model. Yeah, yeah.
Wear a condom.
Married.
Wear a freaking condom, fellas.
They were married. She got divorced. She filed for divorce 2 weeks after she had a child.
Oh God! Like I said, wear a condom.
You know. Okay, here's the thing. 2 weeks after the child, you knew she was planning on leaving him well before the child.
Don't marry them when you're playing in the league.
Well, some turn out to be great, but some
do not marry those skanks while you're in the league.
Okay, let's move on. Because before you get so fucking ridiculous. James F said about Miles Bridges, Grumpy, we have to say that in the PO, they don't care. I'm not sure what the PO means. Gungun says here, I asked this crucial question last night, but I think it got lost in the toilet. Hey, Grumpy, which Iron Maiden singer do you prefer? Paul Di'Anno or Bruce Dickinson?
Bruce Dickinson.
There we go. Drew L said, yeah, Derek Jeter's wife has always been in those DirecTV commercials riding the white horse on the beach like 6 or 7 years ago.
Yep. Derek
Jeter, Joseph C. says, Derek Jeter had an impressive resume. Mariah Carey, Jessica Alba, Jessica Biel, Adriana Lima, Scarlett Johansson too.
I didn't know
Minka Kelly. My gosh,
I didn't know she was with him. But you're right. I mean, but he was smart. Derek Jeter's just smart. He knows what he's doing.
Post office.
Oh, okay.
About Miles Bridges, Grumpy. We have a saying in the post office: they don't care.
Yeah, well, they should. Just dumb guys. Here's the thing. How old are these guys? 23, 24? You don't need to be getting married. Forget that. You have all the money in the world.
Okay, you're fucking it up. Miles Bridges is the one who beat his wife.
That's what I said. He shouldn't have got married to her.
That doesn't. Okay, so now you're saying that he punched that lady or beat her up because he was married?
Yes, because they're married and she's starting to post nudes of herself on Instagram. Yeah. That's a problem.
You think that's what stemmed the punch is the nude Instagram post? But
that's what it was said.
It took 20 days in order to get. It took 20 days. He was pinting up this anger for 20 days. He's like, yeah, and he beat her up. Oh, can't be doing that.
She was like, yeah, look what I put on Instagram.
Who knows? I'm telling you one thing. That relationship's not gonna. I'm just gonna go out there on a limb. I don't think any amount of marriage counseling is going to save that relationship. Just looking at it from the outside, the wife posted nudes, he's beating up the lady. I'm saying they're probably not a match made in heaven. I'm saying probably an amicable separation might be good for that couple.
Don't marry. If you're an athlete, wait until you hit into your 30s before you get married. The world is your oyster, my friend.
Here's the thing. Unless you have a high school sweetheart like Patrick Mahomes' lovely, lovely wife.
I'm going to say it again. I'm going to say it again. Don't get married.
What, you don't like Brittany Mahomes, Grumpy? I think everybody loves Brittany Mahomes.
I feel bad for Patrick Mahomes.
I do. I feel so bad for Patrick Mahomes.
Got that between her brother
and his brother, my God. Patrick Mahomes seems like such a nice guy. Yep. He seems like such a nice guy. My gosh.
He's got the idiot brother and the trailer park trash wife. That's what he's got.
Christ. And he's a guy who's, again, another person who seems to do everything right, a guy who seems to be an excellent person, everything you hear and you read about him. Oh,
he should have pulled a Jeter. He should have talked to Derek Jeter and say, Derek, how do I get out from this girl who I've been with forever? Just give her the
don't get married. They're engaged, or maybe they just got married. They got
he says, you know what? Just give her the Mahomes basket, but throw in an extra
football in a helmet and say, I'll see you around.
See you later. That's right. That's what he should have done.
Christopher C. said, do you think the Nets are evolving into the Islanders?
No, I think the Islanders
are evolving backwards. That's for certain.
The Islanders are in better shape than the Nets.
Drew L. said, I mean, Derek Jeter was borderline a model back in his days when he was younger. Oh, yeah, he was a good-looking guy. Oh, yeah, loved by everybody, too.
He was
articulate, very smart, very, very, he was a very I think, well thought into. He was he thought everything out. He was well articulate. He was very articulate, very, very nice guy too, from what I understand.
Parents did a great job with him. He was savvy, PR savvy.
Savvy.
He never,
savvy.
absolutely never took a misstep. He always thought like I said, don't know him from a hole in the wall, but you never saw him make a mistake ever.
Biggest mistake he made was taking on a role with the Miami Marlins.
Yeah. But that was after his playing career was over.
That's the first mistake he ever made in his life.
But what happened when he found out that they weren't going to invest money? What did he do? He bailed. I'm out.
Yep. See you later.
And did anybody blame Derek Jeter for the fiasco in Miami?
No, because they've been a fiasco before that, and they'll be a fiasco after that.
He has so much cachet. That's like, oh, it's them. It's not him. It's not Derek Jeter.
James F. saying, Grumpy, you should be a marriage counselor.
Absolutely.
Just get divorced.
No, don't get married to her. Dude, you're what, 22? And what are you, honey? 21? No.
Christopher C. said here, what do you guys think about having Stewie Griffin joining the Islanders to push the team into the playoffs? I'm not sure Stewie Griffin would do it. That's a show I haven't watched Family Guy in a long time, but that's a show that I genuinely enjoy anytime I watch it, but I haven't watched it in a long time. Want to cover, now we were speaking a little bit about Miles Bridges. Well, it's funny. I actually have a video of his agent, Grumpy Old Man. His agent posted a video of his reaction to hearing the news about Miles Bridges' felony arrest for domestic violence.
I've seen it.
What the fuck, yo? God damn! God damn! God damn!
What?
Fuck! Fuck!
He just saw his paycheck, his potential paycheck as his agent drop a few $1 million, perhaps. I don't, the possibility of him getting, the max deal, probably not there on the table anymore.
He was a leading scorer.
I'd say probably not.
He was a leading scorer last year.
Yeah, he was a leading scorer over Lonzo Ball.
Yes. He led the team in scoring. But I mean, think about it. They would kill to have Bridges back. How do you think Lonzo Ball is going to stay when his contract is up?
Maybe.
I would try to throw money at Lonzo Ball now.
It's LaMelo Ball, not Lonzo.
Whatever. It's one of the Ball boys.
Lonzo Ball was the one who was drafted, I think, by the Lakers back in the day, and I can't remember who the hell he's with now. Maybe the Bulls. I don't know. He's bounced around a few different teams.
Okay. One of the Ball boys.
I said originally Lonzo. My mistake. It's LaMelo, I think.
Okay. But, I mean, he's really good.
That much. I know he's not really in the league, but he did get the tryout with the Hornets a while ago. I'm sorry.
He's really good, though. LaMelo Ball is really good.
LaMelo only scored 0.1 less points a game on average than Miles Bridges last year.
So he scored. So Miles Bridges, like I said, was the team's leading scorer.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Don't try to minimize what I said. I was right.
It was
you were wrong.
LaMelo Ball, okay?
It didn't matter. He did not average as many points, period. End of sentence, end of story. But LaMelo Ball is a good player. And you know what? You got to surround him with talent. But they won't. Believe me, they're not going to do it.
Do you think Miles Bridges might sign back maybe a little bit on the cheap? If the Hornets still want him after
the Hornets want him. They're not giving him up. They have to think LaMelo Ball. You got to keep him happy. If you think jettisoning the team's leading scorer is going to make him happy, you're crazy. Yeah. They need to put parts around him.
Drew
you know what they don't need? They don't need Kyrie Irving.
Okay. Drew said because we had a lot to cover, Grumpy. He says that video certainly demonetized this video. No, we didn't have to worry about it. We don't monetize it. The videos are not monetized. He also says Lonzo also kind of got baby trapped by his high school sweetheart like 3 years ago. Oh gosh, I didn't know that. James F said, TJ, I need some fights of the night. Okay, we got some of those later, so we got a lot to cover. I want to cover. We talked about Russell Westbrook, Grumpy. Well, sign that big contract, opted in, going to be paid. I'm sorry, not $42 million, $47.1 million to return to the Lakers in 2022, 2023. And our buddy, Skip Bayless, our buddy who coined Russell Westbrook, happened to come out with a tweet. He said, hey, Russell Westbrook. He called him by his actual name instead of West Brick. He said, happy to talk face-to-face about the nickname I believe I originated in 2012. Join me on TV/podcast. Let's talk about how you'll make $47 million next year after being the worst three-point shooter in the NBA. Most overpaid player ever? ? Please join me.
You know what? Russell Westbrook has always been a volume scorer.
Yes.
He's never been a guy who's shooting 50% or 60%. He just throws up a billion shots.
Well, here's the funny thing. So, they do happen to have somebody who translates these Skip Bayless tweets in case you're illiterate like I am. So, we do have somebody who did happen to impersonate Skip Bayless saying this, Grumpy. So we're very lucky. He even captured the mannerisms of Skip Bayless, and I absolutely loved it. I want to share.
Hey, Russell Westbrook. Happy to talk face-to-face about the nickname I believe I originated in, 2012. Join me on TV/podcast. Let's talk about how you'll make $47 million next year after being the worst three-pointer in the NBA. Most overpaid player ever? Please join me. Hey, Russell.
The mannerisms and the sitting up in a seat is that shit he does all the time, Grumpy.
Okay.
I loved it.
Okay, good.
Well, I guess you don't know too much of Skip Bayless.
I know Skip Bayless. You enjoy those silly things way more than I do.
Oh,
Guys, doing lame impersonations of some guy. He was okay.
Okay, get the hell out of here. He was more than okay, Grumpy.
Skip Bayless never wears a hat, ever. Ever.
Maybe his hair was okay. So I'm sorry.
Ever.
Hold on. The hat was the issue for you. Everything else was perfect about the impression, but the hat was what put you over the edge.
He was just okay.
Oh,
Nothing special.
Ridiculous. You are ridiculous. We do have a few baseball items I want to talk about here before we get on to the Mac Daddy, USC and UCLA joining the Big Ten, Deshaun Watson. I'm talking the Mac Daddies of the podcast. For you who stuck around, right? You got the big portions coming up. You know how we like to go ahead and always show the mistakes, right? The mistakes that certain teams make around the league. I feel like anytime I see one, it just happens to always be Philly related. Now, this is one. Didi Gregorius, I think, forgot how many outs there were in the inning. Bases loaded, ducks on the pond against the Atlanta Braves. And Didi Gregorius strikes, Grumpy.
It's the Phillies. It's the curse of the Phillies.
It's the freaking Phillies, Grump.
Come on, Aaron. Ground ball. There you go.
There you go. Out towards second base. Stop. Flips to second for one. Didi only gets that one.
Oh, no. I thought Didi was 3 outs.
Did Didi think there were 3
I
outs?
thought that was 3 outs because you saw his ball into his glove.
He tried to walk it off like he didn't know, but he knows. No, he knows.
He knows, man.
Here's the thing. I like Didi Gregorius, and this is new manager. Jeez.
Contreras was clapping his hands
Jesus.
as he went into second base.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, watch Didi right here.
I think you're right, John.
Yeah, Stott, really good feed by Stott, and Didi just.
He did think it was 3
Yeah,
outs.
now watch. But watch, if you keep rolling it, he pounds the ball into his glove because he knew he forgot how many outs there were.
Oh, he would have been out by a freaking mile, too.
The guy had 6 more strides to get to first base. 6. It's a lot of strides. Watch.
Let's assume even once he gets
Watch.
past that,
Too fast.
easily. My gosh. Yeah. So I always like showing the little Phillies mistake or, the mistake there, the MLB mistake of the week. Now, I want to show you, Mike Clevenger?
Yes, pitcher for the Padres. Hippie. Got the long hair. Do you think, one thing before we get off the Phillies, do you think the manager should go, 2 outs, fellas, 1 out. Let's get 1 out. You think he should yell out of the dugout?
Like he does, like they do in Little League games. They're
Like you do in Little League.
2 outs, 2 outs, 2 outs,
the
guys.
play?
Plays at
Where's the
first.
first.
Yeah, I think he should. Maybe he's got to do that with 1 out. 1 out, plays at any base. 1 out, plays at any base, guys. Oh my God, dude. That is I saw that. I just couldn't stop. It's so apropos that it was the Philadelphia Phillies making that mistake.
It's the Phillies.
Oh man. It's tough to be a Phillies fan, that's for certain. Have you ever seen Mike Clevenger pitch?
Yeah, I've seen a pitch.
He's got this weird stance and wind up when he's pitching. He's always had this, but it just resurfaced, and I always forget how weird he is on the mound, Grumpy, when he's pitching. Have you actually now look at how odd this is?
I do too.
Yeah.
I don't remember him doing that in Cleveland.
That's what you're looking at if you're the hitter. He can't even sit still out there, Clevenger. It's like somebody gave
To
him
me, that almost looks like a borderline balk.
like this.
I
do too. Yeah. Do that.
He's the first pitcher I've seen.
That's
Right,
what you're
we've
looking
seen
at if you're the
crazy
hitter. He's got
pitching
a leg. He
before.
can't even-
We've seen crazy, like Tim Lincecum's crazy
I
pitching.
mean, he's stepping towards the plate and then stepping back again. I mean, that looks like a balk to me. I don't know.
Must have had nobody on base, perhaps. Grumpy can't
Maybe.
balk with nobody on
Maybe.
base.
I don't know, but I'm like, he's stepping towards and then he's stepping back.
I figured you'd kick out of that. I forgot that.
Maybe he had to go pee-pee.
Good gracious, man. Good gracious. Wanted to bring those two things up here. Drell
He
said,
should go to the
TJ,
Phillies.
what's with the Skip Bayless impersonator account? That was hilarious. Thank you very much, Drew L. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Skip Bayless always wears the same suit on his show. Yeah.
He's not a Hollywood fashion plate.
Goon says, hey, compadres, are the Mets treating us to their annual swoon kicking the testes a bit early than the end of the season when it hurts the most?
This year's different. Buck Showalter's a good manager. Think about the injuries they've had to their pitching staff. I mean, I'm not concerned about the Mets. Not yet, anyway.
Oh, gosh.
It's my turn. You told me it was my turn.
You can talk all that you want to, yell and scream.
Is there a picture for us to see?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was just pulling up there. It was Skip Bayless after Russell Westbrook keep crying about Russell Westbrook. Oh, God. I would love to see Skip Bayless and Russell Westbrook on TV together. Honestly, I would enjoy it. I can't say I watch a lot of Undisputed or a lot of Skip Bayless, but I would tune into that and I would thoroughly enjoy that segment.
I disagree. I'd like to see Skip Bayless and Russell Westbrook's wife.
Oh, maybe they'll have three people. I would love that. Invite her as a special.
No, not three. Mrs. Brick and Skip Bayless. That's what I'd like to see.
Mrs. Brick. Oh gosh. Well, let's talk a little bit about the big issue. USC, as well as UCLA, are joining the Big Ten as early as 2024. Grumpy. Initial reaction.
Death of the Pac-12. Death of the Pac-12.
Death of the Pac-12 and death of USC and UCLA.
No, it's not the death of UCLA and USC.
I will tell you why I think this is going to severely hurt their athletic programs. But you're right. I think this is a death of the Pac-12. I guarantee you Oregon will be looking to move in some capacity almost immediately as well. The Pac-12 is in trouble. And what are we going to see? We're going to see these mega conferences continue to grow. The SEC expanded, right? They recently added Oklahoma, Texas. Now the Big Ten is adding their additional. Now it's going to be the ACC is going to look to add. And guess what? You're going to see it consolidated into these big conferences. And you know what's going to happen? Many years down the road, they're going to start to divide up the conferences again because they don't want these just 2 or 3 big conferences because it's tough to win like that. So we're going to split the conferences back up.
There's going to wind up being 4 big conferences. I thought it was going to be 5, but it's going to wind up being 4.
Well, it's always been the Power 5.
Yeah, but
the longest time it's been the Power 5.
Right. And I thought it would stay like that, but the Pac-12 is dead.
Maybe the Big 12 will try to go ahead and pick up Oregon as well.
That's what I think you're going to see. The Big 12, loses Oklahoma and Texas, right?
Yeah.
And in early years, they lost Texas A&M. I mean, and I think was Missouri in the Big 10 or were they in the Pac?
They were in
no, Missouri was in the Big 12 also.
Yep.
So they've had attrition there. So I think you're going to see. I would, if I'm that, I'm say, hey, Oregon, you want to come? Utah, do you want to come?
BYU, do you want to join?
BYU's in the WAC conference. So
still
Western Athletic Conference.
Still.
I don't think you're going to see those teams leave. Not
BYU's, now. BYU's been a successful football team over the last few years, and they've been successful basketball time periods in their history too recently.
But I mean,
Every other one of these conferences are trying to add as many of these, better teams and better athletic programs in each conference. You got to be ahead of the game. You saw the SEC do it with Texas and Oklahoma. Now you've seen the Big Ten do it with UCLA and USC. It is time, if you are in one of these conferences, if you do not make the additions of the right teams, you will be the odd man out. And in a few years, you will have other conferences gathering your best players and your best teams. Tell me you couldn't see the SEC if the ACC doesn't start to add legitimate competition, getting and poaching Clemson, maybe Miami, and Florida State. Tell me you couldn't see those three teams going to the SEC down the road.
I think the ACC is proactive when it comes to that. They're the ones who started the whole thing. The ACC is the one who started the whole thing. But here's interesting. I remember when the Big Ten meant something. There were 10 teams in the conference. Big 12.
Now it's going to be 14. There are going to be 14 teams in the Big Ten.
Well, maybe they'll get rid of Rutgers. Maybe they'll start dropping some of the teams that don't earn any money. But here's the biggest thing you're going to see. What's going to happen scheduling-wise?
That is why I think USC and UCLA have just put their programs dead to freaking rights. Because remember, these teams out in the Big Ten play 12 o'clock noon kickoff.
Well,
and when you think about all these NFL teams, think about the records that NFL teams have when they have the interdivisional play, when you have teams on the West Coast playing an afternoon game against teams on the East Coast. Almost resoundingly, the teams on the West Coast always lose. The winning percentage is like 30% because they're playing a game at 9 o'clock in the morning, their time.
Unless part of the agreement is that those games are going to be played at 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
They don't even do that in the NFL. You think they're going to make that for USC and UCLA? The NFL doesn't even do that.
Well, you know what? A lot of those teams out west play games at 10 o'clock at night. You think they're going to have teams come out from the middle of the country, play a game at what is in essence 1 o'clock in the morning for them? That's not going to happen either. I think they're going to make the schedule fit where you're going to see games on the West Coast be 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I think you're going to see a lot more games 4 o'clock in the afternoon for the Big Ten. That when you're having like your Nebraskas against Penn State, yeah, those will still be 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock. But when you have a West Coast team, you're going to see a later start date. It's later start time.
I'm just telling you one thing. It's a lot. It's easy to say that on paper, but there will be one, if not two games. Each one of those West Coast teams will have to play an East Coast team early. That's just the TV scheduling. They have the different slots and the big. Okay, you could shake your head all you want. They've got the different slots. They have to fill the slots. I promise you, there will be at least one game each one of those teams play from the West Coast at a 12 o'clock afternoon game on the East Coast. I freaking promise you that, Grumpy. I guarantee it. They're not going to say, here you go, USC and UCLA. We're giving you guys every fucking primetime game that we have because you're playing out west. I don't think the Big Ten teams are going to be, the existing Big Ten teams are going to be like, sounds great. Penn State, Ohio State. Oh, yeah. No worries. We don't want to play primetime anymore. Fill us in at 12 o'clock every time. The only time we'll play primetime is when we're playing USC and UCLA. That's not how it's going to work.
You realize primetime is like 8 o'clock at night, right?
Yeah, they're not okay. They're not giving them all the 8 o'clock at night.
I'm not. How about 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
4 o'clock games.
How about 4 o'clock in the afternoon?
We only have like 2 games that are played at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You think every single afternoon game is going to be given to USC and UCLA? There's 2
I think that's something that you're going to see. You're going to see if they have to travel east, it'll be 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I can't wait till we resume back to this. I cannot wait. A year and a half from now, 2 years from now, when that schedule comes out, you're going to be sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken, Grumpy. They will play
the big teams. The big teams get the prime, the better time slots. USC,
not big teams.
2 years. USC in the championship.
USC, trust me. USC,
maybe this year.
USC ain't going to be making the championship start in 2024. So the only chance they have is this year now. They're not walking in and competing with Ohio. USC can't even freaking win the conference against that pitiful ass Pac-12 conference. You think they're going to roll in and say, now we're beating Michigan, now we're beating Ohio State, now we're beating Wisconsin, now we're beating every damn team in the freaking Big Ten. Guess what? Or Big Ten. Guess what? The Big Ten plays a different brand of football than the freaking Pac-12 did. They are not physical enough. They will get fucking obliterated. USC and UCLA just signed their fucking fucking death warrant on football. I promise you that. Book it now. Death warrant. They have just freaking signed their death warrant, Grump.
Okay. Can I tell you what used to happen every year in the Rose Bowl?
Death warrant.
Every single year?
Warrant.
The Big Ten came out and they could never keep up with the team speed of the Pac-12. USC in particular could not keep up, and they get
When's the last
rolled.
time USC played in the Rose Bowl?
I don't know.
10 years ago?
I don't know. But here's the thing. They're going to have to play in the heat where they're used to playing in the damn winter.
They're going to
over
have
there.
to play in the snow. What's your point? When they go out east, they're playing in freaking feet of snow.
Well, that's
You
what I'm
think
saying.
that
They're going to have to.
You think that air raid run and gun's going to work out there in the snow? Or do you think that we're lining up with two tight ends, a fullback and a running back, and pounding the ball down your throat? Which one do you think is going to work out in the snow, in the rain like that, like it happens out east? You don't get the rain and the snow out west, Grumpy. You do all the time on the east. I'm telling you, they signed their death warrant. Signed the death warrant to those two
We
football
understand.
programs.
We understand. I'm just saying, does Ohio State run 3 yards in a cloud of dust? No, they're throwing the ball all over the place.
When
That's
it
what they do.
snows and it rains, they run the ball. They have fullbacks they utilize.
You know,
When's
to
the last
say-
time USC's utilized a
thing.
fullback?
To say that USC hasn't been able to beat anybody, they didn't have Lincoln Riley before this year. USC is going to win conference this year. They might even make Final Four this year. They picked up a couple of ham and eggers like that Atkinson kid from Pittsburgh. He might help them a little bit with the wide receiver spot.
Addison.
Yeah, whatever.
But we do have a video of what it's like when those USC and UCLA players are going to be waking up at 9 a.m. to play the Big Ten, right? We do have a video of this in the future. I did find that. Yeah, the little scared straight is always funny, Grumpy. But I'm telling you, dude, do you really think?
I'll tell you what, all kidding aside, I remember when the original Scared Straight TV show came out, and holy crap, that was powerful to watch. Powerful to watch. The original back in, I want to say, the 1970s. Powerful to watch.
I just think this is a big mistake by them.
I don't.
Let me ask you this. All those quarterbacks that are throwing out there too, how out west, Grumpy, how cold do you think it gets at USC and towards the end of the college football season?
60, 65, 70.
Yeah, they don't run into too many. It's a negative degree or 10-degree day and windy with 20 or 30 mile an hour winds when it's snowing outside.
There's not a whole lot of those games.
Have that.
There's not a whole lot of those games either.
Do you remember? Okay,
the season's over at the beginning of December.
You maybe remember this game, kind of towards the tail end of the year. It was Penn State against Michigan State. How do you think the Pac-12 does in an environment like this? How do you think that works, Grump?
Pretty good.
How do you think they look out here when it's snowy, windy as shit, and it's all that? How do you think they work out, Grumpy?
Just like that, touchdown. That's it right there. That's it. That's exactly how it works.
I'm telling you, the Pac-12, the Pac-12 is number one done, and you got USC and UCLA that just signed their freaking death warrant.
We'll see. Time will tell.
I'm telling you, Grump.
Lincoln Riley knows what he's doing as a head coach.
Lincoln Riley did not determine whether their program.
You don't think that they ran that by Lincoln Riley?
Okay, Lincoln Riley went scared running with his tail between his legs.
Oh, so he went scared
SEC.
running. He went scared playing in the Big 12 because he didn't want to go to the SEC. But he was not scared when they were moving to play in the Big 10. Okay.
Well,
that doesn't hold water anymore.
Just taking a job, you're going to say, I don't like this situation. Let me go ahead. I know all these other coaches, right? There's no job vacancies.
Okay.
What are you going to do?
Do you really think that this thing just came up this week? Absolutely not.
How
When
long
they
do you
saw-
think they've been in discussions for this?
6 months?
Oh, stop.
You think they just throw some shit like this together in a weekend? Somebody go, hey, we go out to a bar. Hey, sure, come on, join in. No, they've been talking about this shit forever.
I just can't wait.
Look
to
at that
see shit
clean
like this.
field,
Wisconsin
nothing,
just
no rain.
pummeling the fucking ball right there. Bam, bam, bam. Just bringing old school football back. And all these, we like to run and gun. We like to run the no huddle. As soon as you stop the no huddle for a few drives and you string together a 15, 20 play drive and you're just pounding the fucking ball down their throat, USC, just gas like that, or a snow game, you're just going to see them freaking wilt. The same thing with UCLA, same thing with USC. I'm just telling you, this is a mistake.
All right.
Mistake.
We understand. You think it's a mistake?
How
I
would
think
you
it's an
say
opportunity.
How is this not a mistake for those two franchise, or at least the two football programs? That's what I'm talking about. How is that not a mistake for those two athletic programs, football teams?
I think they're going to benefit playing in big games on Saturday. That's the benefit. And the thing is, they're going to still get all the recruits from the West Coast, and now they're going to start poaching some guys from the middle of the country too.
Okay, USC could poach whatever the hell they want. They pay enough money. It's all about the money you pay. Who's going to provide the most money in name, image, and likeness deals?
Okay.
That's how. So whose donor base is larger? Is who's getting all the best recruits? It's as simple as that.
USC.
How do you think they line up though against that? You think they're traditional 3-4 with one D tackle weighing 310 pounds, 315 pounds, and two DNs that maybe weigh about
spread them out. Spread them out. Spread them out. Spread them out. You spread them out. That's what you do. You spread them out. You don't do a block formation like this. Tell me you don't know what the play's coming. Holy crap. Everybody's in the box because look at the formation.
They don't have the meat and the ability to stop the run like that, Grump.
Okay, so they recruit different type players. I don't understand.
Okay.
It's about players.
Easy. Let's just change up our system. I know we've always run that finesse type of 3-4, but let's change it. Now we're going to start running a 4-3.
It's a finesse 3-4.
Run. We're going to play for the run now.
You're delusional.
No worries. Yeah.
You're so sad.
I cannot fucking wait till 2024. I cannot wait till 2024. You'll see the results.
Okay.
They're not playing piddly pup you anymore, Grumpy. The Pac-12.
No, you're right. They're playing Maryland and Rutgers and Nebraska. That is piddly pup you.
They're playing Ohio State. They're playing Michigan. They're playing Wisconsin.
Shit.
They're playing Penn State. They're playing Michigan State. All five of those teams
Michigan
are tough
State's
teams.
nothing.
Okay.
Here's
a
the
team
thing.
that consistently wins 10 plus games a year. How many teams have 10 plus wins a year in the Pac-12? Do you know that, Grump?
No idea. 2, 3.
Maybe Oregon. USC. Okay.
Oregon, Utah.
Okay. You talk about piddly pup you. The Pac-12 plays against teams like Washington State, Arizona, Stanford. Stanford's had good years in the past.
So is Arizona. So is Arizona State.
No, Arizona State has not been good football-wise.
But
they're not playing Oregon State anymore. They're not playing Arizona. They're not what?
Arizona State's had a good football program before. Maybe not right now, but they've had Herman Edwards is the coach at Arizona State.
They've had good recruiting classes, but haven't resulted on the field.
Maybe because they're getting the other teams are just beating them up, even with their recruiting class, because USC is so much better and UCLA so much better.
Almighty.
This brings honestly,
you love Lincoln Riley. Just can't wait.
All I'm saying is this brings some marquee big time games to the Big Ten. It does. You're going to get more of those Saturday night games at 8:00 featuring USC or UCLA against one of the big schools. That's what you're going to see.
USC and UCLA will be miserable. Arizona State hasn't had a 10-win season since 2014. Okay, Grumpy? They're not a good squad. Todd Graham was the head coach the last time they had a double-digit win season. Okay?
Okay. So I said 2-1 were what? Oregon and Utah last year, right? At 10 wins.
Utah had 10 wins? Yeah, sure. Okay.
Okay, there you go. How many teams had 10 wins in the Big Ten? 3?
Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Wisconsin, all 4.
Did Wisconsin have 10 wins? I know they lost quite a few games.
Give me a sec. I might be wrong here on this. Let's see. I'm sorry, they're 9-4. Only 9 wins.
So they didn't. So you only had 3 teams, 3-2. Oh well. I mean, like I said, I think it helps both sides.
No, 4. I'm sorry. I also forgot about Iowa. Iowa had 10 wins. Michigan State. I didn't even mention freaking Iowa. I didn't mention Iowa or Iowa State. Look, okay. We have got to go over this real quick. You talk about the Big freaking 10. The Big 10's what I'd say they're the second strongest football football conference last year behind the SEC. Michigan 12-2.
Iowa State's not even in the Big Ten.
I'm sorry. Okay. Michigan State 11-2. Iowa 10-4. Minnesota 9-4. Purdue 9-4. Wisconsin 9-4.
That's what happens when you got a whole bunch of shitty teams in your conference and your non-conference schedule is shit. Because here's the thing. USC would always play a tough non-conference schedule. But I don't know what it's been recently. I just think it benefits both. What does it bring to the Big Ten? It brings them eyeballs on the West Coast. It means that they're going to get more primetime games.
Sure. I agree with that. Maybe,
what does it bring? Sure. What does it bring to USC and UCLA? A better conference to play in, where now you're also going to have more eyeballs because your games are on 10 o'clock at night usually. Well, now they're going to be on 8 o'clock at night or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. They're not going to make them play 12 o'clock in the morning. I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to make them play 12 o'clock in the morning.
Leave it in the description below if you think they're going to have at least one game where they just
might have one game against Rutgers or against some excuse me, or against some crappy team, but you're not going to see Ohio State and USC at 12 o'clock. That's not going to happen. Those are going to be primetime games. The toughest competition is going to be primetime where more eyeballs are on the sets.
Here's the thing. They have so many tough competition. They have so many big teams that if Michigan's playing Michigan State, that's a primetime game. It is.
Not really. Ohio State, and Ohio State and Michigan is always 12 o'clock. Those games are going to stay there. There's certain games that are played at certain times every year. They're going to stay. The West Coast teams are going to get easier later times. They just are. I guarantee you that's what's going to happen. They're not going to be playing every week at 12 o'clock. They're not.
I'm not saying every week.
And
I'm
here's
saying
the thing.
there's at least going to be one game every year where those teams out west have to play at 12 o'clock afternoon East Coast game. And I'm telling you, those games are set up for the West Coast teams to lose because they play so early. Simple as that.
Well, we'll see. But what else does it bring to USC and UCLA? Eyeballs from the rest of the country, not 10 o'clock at night, because that's when most of their games are. They start at 7 o'clock at night on Saturdays on the West Coast, which is 10 o'clock. So their players are not being seen. Now you're going to see them earlier time slots, 8 o'clock. So what do you see then? 5 o'clock in the afternoon. That's going to work for them.
I just got to say one more thing before we leave this. Where the NFL, they have more teams. They have 32 teams to work with, right? They should ideally have more flexibility when it comes to scheduling and it comes to time of scheduling. The NFL cannot even guarantee that the West Coast teams don't have to play a 12 o'clock afternoon game against East Coast teams. Even the NFL could make that work. And you think a conference that has less teams they could pair up with is going to make that work every single time?
I don't think so. Anyway, the NFL, certain conferences, certain divisions have to play one another every year. And guess what? If you're a road team, like if you say, okay, the AFC West has to play the NFC East and they're the road team. Well, guess what? Those are going to be 1 o'clock games because that's when those games are held. Unless the teams are good.
Why couldn't you just make the team? Why couldn't? Okay. The team has.
If the teams are good.
If UCLA's not been good for a few years, you think they're going to get every single prime time or 4 o'clock in the afternoon game?
I think they'll get 4 o'clock. 4 o'clock in the afternoon is not prime time. That's 8 o'clock at night.
Prime time or 4 o'clock in the afternoon game.
Yes.
I don't think so. Okay. Cool.
If they have to, but
maybe the NFL just needs to do that.
Here's
just
another thing.
Every single 4. Hey, East Coast teams, you're just going to play at 4 o'clock in the afternoon for all these teams that you're playing.
Here's another thing you're not going to see.
They can't even make that happen.
Here's another thing you're not going to see. You're not going to see the Ohio States or the Michigans going to have to go out and play 10 o'clock at night out in California. You're not going to see that either. You're going to see those games pushed back to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where it's 4 o'clock out there, maybe 7 o'clock. Whatever time.
Gotcha.
And again, it's only a 2-hour difference also. It's not 3, it's 2 for the middle of the country.
Okay. Well, Ohio is in the Eastern time zone, aren't they? They're not in Central time zone.
I don't know. A lot of them are, though. Most of those are Central time zone.
Yeah, they're Eastern. Ohio is in Michigan.
Michigan would be
also Eastern. Okay. So, yeah.
But you're not going to see them playing a 10 o'clock at night game.
Okay. Let's just move on. We'll just wait to see. No point arguing something that I will be proven right in 2024, but let's continue.
We know you're never
Christopher
proven
Z
right.
said here, should the Mets fire their medical staff since they suck at getting those players and pitchers back on the mound?
No.
Okay. James F. said, I miss Big East basketball back in the day. They used to be the Mac Daddy back when basketball, but
It was tremendous. St. John's, Georgetown, Syracuse.
Pittsburgh.
No, Pittsburgh. No. What do you no?
Pittsburgh had
No.
multiple years where they were number one in the nation.
Stop. He's talking about the 1980s. He's talking about the 1980s, okay? Pittsburgh wasn't even in the Big East. It was Georgetown, Syracuse, St. John's, Villanova. Those were like the best teams, like the top 5 teams in the country.
Okay, the Big East was still the best basketball conference in 2000 to 2010. So that was still the case too.
No. ACC.
Look at the national championships won compared to the ACC.
ACC.
That's cool. John M says here, good evening, boys. Just leaving work. Joined a little late. What's up, John M? James F says here, Pac-12 always beat the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl back in the day.
Always. They ran out of gas. They always got gassed because it's warmer out there.
Home games. James F says here, I think the last time USC won the Rose Bowl, Pete Carroll was the coach. The last time they played in a Rose Bowl was in 2017. So haven't even made a Rose Bowl in 7 years. Or I'm sorry, in 5 years.
But you realize but they've changed the bowl structure. It used to be the Pac-12 against the Big Ten. And then they changed it to fit, the national championship game.
James F said, TJ, don't you think USC or UCLA played in the snow up there in Washington State? No, they didn't play any snow game.
Yes.
When do you think the last time USC's played a snow game?
When they played up in Washington or Washington State. Those teams, Washington teams are very north. They're very north. Utah, that's cold up there.
Okay.
They're north.
Let's see here. I got to pull this up here. Okay.
It's unimportant. Just say you don't know.
I don't know, but I would venture not too often. How many times do you watch a West Coast game when Washington or Washington State plays and it's snowing? Not very
Usually
often.
it's really, really cold rain, but they have had snow.
Okay, so cold rain is not snow, but okay, that's freezing rain anyway.
There's not a whole lot of snow games in the Big Ten either. Not early maybe a couple at the end. That's it.
Okay. James F says Penn State in a rebuilding mode. Yeah. One thing with college football doesn't take long. James Franklin, a good recruiter. I don't think a great coach. Really good recruiter, not a great coach. Not great with in-game adjustments. Christopher C said, why not, Grumpy?
Here's the thing. I think the injuries that they have, you don't want to rush those guys back from those injuries. That's malfeasance by the medical staff. You want to make sure that they're going at their own pace. If they have any setbacks, you step them back a little bit. I have no problem with what they've done. I think Scherzer's rushing back a little bit myself, honestly. They say he could be back like in 2 weeks, which I'm like, man, those oblique injuries for pitchers are tough.
Yikes, dude. I don't like hearing that. That's for certain. Oh, good. Okay. Just to pull up the weather because I knew it. I know it didn't
let it go. You couldn't let it go.
That's correct. That's because I know it didn't snow. Here's the average weather. The lows on average, even in December, 41 degrees.
Where are you talking about?
I'm talking about in Washington, the state of Washington.
Okay.
You really don't start getting the snow weather until you get to January, February. They're not playing games.
Okay.
But they don't see too many. I'd be shocked if they see any snow games.
But what are the temperatures in the Midwest? They're not much different.
The state of Washington as north as it gets, Grumpy. Anyway, I'm just saying they don't see a lot of snow games. That's my point. They don't see a lot of snow games.
And there aren't a whole lot of snow games in the Big Ten either. There are some every year, but not a whole lot. They're just not.
Every time now we're doing it when college football season rolls around, I feel like towards that end of that season, we're going to say,
here's the thing. I love
snow games.
I love snow games.
They're my favorite games to watch.
That's right. There's not that many of them. Because that's why they're my favorite, because you don't see them all the time. That's what makes them so special. You don't see them all the time.
Okay.
How many snow games were there in the NFL this year? I don't think there were any.
Come on. There's at least one.
One 1 a year. Okay.
I don't know how many snow games there are. Believe it or not, that is a stat I don't have in front of me, Grumpy.
Why don't you bring up another geological chart on the temperatures of certain things? You're so
Let me go through
ridiculous.
all
You're
states
so
the 32
ridiculous
teams are
saying
in to make sure I can pull up.
You, my friend, are a puppet face Nelson.
A puppet face Nelson. What the hell is that?
That's you.
Christ almighty. Do you remember how we had Texas A&M Alabama fans and Alabama Nick Saban was complaining about Texas A&M? We don't like this. Well, this was recently, and this is posted by Alabama fans. This was recently caught by one of the recruits. This is recorded by one of the recruits. This is a Texas A&M employee who's speaking to the recruits about, this is the recruiting pitch, why they should go to Texas A&M, Grumpy. You might get a kick out of it. Hold on.
Y'all getting a lot of money from these suites. Y'all decided to go play.
You guys are gonna get a lot of money from these guys in the suites up here if you're determined to come play for Texas A&M.
Gallery Furniture. I mean,
that?
how much money is Gallery Furniture giving the Texas A&M program that they have their Gallery Furniture on the walls?
But
how much do you think that costs? That's not like $10,000. It's a lot of money. I can't wait for Alabama to play Texas A&M this year. I want to see the handshake.
I want to see there be a fight. I want to see there be a few fights on the sidelines after plays. That's what I want to see. I want to see the intensity.
And here's the thing. Nick Saban's still butthurt that he lost to Jimbo Fisher last year. That killed him.
For certain. Absolutely for certain. Let's talk about one more item, Grumpy, before we were. Oh, shit. We got 2 items left. Damn it. Okay. We've got, and we'll try to keep it quick.
So we don't have any weather charts to put up there?
Yes, I do. Let's talk about the traffic patterns in Atlanta, Georgia. Right?
Geez, you've done that before. Remember that? God.
The NFL. This is by Pro Football Focus or Pro Football Talk. He says the NFL and Deshaun Watson could strike a deal on an agreed suspension at any time. Here's a suggestion. Treat all of 2021 like an unpaid suspension. He'd have to pay back the $10 million that he made.
Oh, that's bullshit.
And sit out the first 8 games of 2022 without pay. That would be 25 games total. Wanted to ask what your thoughts are or something like that.
Excessive. It's an excessive penalty.
I think it meets somewhere in the middle. But also, Ian Rappaport says the disciplinary hearing for Deshaun Watson has ended for the day, which means that is wrapped up after 3 days. The wait is now for Judge Sue Robinson's ruling begins.
He didn't commit a crime. He did not commit a crime.
He's suing also the NFL. Did you see that?
Well, yeah, that whoever
I'm sorry, he's suing the Houston Texans.
He's not. The person who was suing Deshaun Watson has now included the Houston Texans in her lawsuit.
I thought Deshaun Watson's also suing the Houston Texans separately.
Mm-mm. I didn't hear that. I heard that the girl the lady who were suing Deshaun Watson have now included the Houston Texans because, they must have known what was going on. That's horse shit too. As far as I'm concerned, if I was on that jury, you lose your lawsuit. You're trying to double dip now. Sorry.
Yeah, the accuser did go ahead and add the Texans. I'm sorry, I was wrong.
That's
they included the Texans for negligence.
Yeah, because,
the Texans did know what was going on, though. Let's be honest.
Okay,
right?
you don't know. You have no idea if the Texans knew what was going on.
So, just so you want, Deshaun Watson was getting these, not using team masseuses, not using on team facilities.
How would they know that? How would they know that?
The Texans were paying for the hotel rooms. Do you not remember? The Texans were paying for the hotel rooms and having non-disclosure agreements signed by all these ladies who were giving him massage.
No. They gave him non-disclosure agreements. They didn't have anyone sign a no-disclosure agreement. They offered to give him non-disclosure agreements. They had nothing to do with it. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And part of her lawsuit was, well, they have people who are hired for that. Yeah. Well, if the player doesn't want to go there, we're not going to force them. They don't force the players to do something. Certainly not a guy like Deshaun Watson. If he says, I perform better if I pick my own masseuses and I like it done here. Okay, there you go. No problem. I don't like the fact that.
Good.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'm pulling up the exact quote. So
I don't
continue.
like how all of a sudden you want to lump somehow the team's responsible. You want to know why she's doing that? She figures she can get more money from the NFL than she could from Deshaun Watson.
All on the line.
God damn it, Serena Williams. My mistake. Continue.
That's the reason. She figures she can get more money from the NFL than for Deshaun Watson. Now, I don't believe what she's saying. I automatically say, no, I'm against you. I'm going for Deshaun Watson. Where before, I was rooting for her. Now I'm not. Because now she's just a greedy pig. That's all she is.
The New York Times also reported that the non-disclosure agreement that Watson gave some of the women to sign came from the Texans' director of security, Brent Nicara. So
maybe he just handed them to him. Yeah, here you go.
Okay, so the Texans were also involved with providing non-disclosure agreements, as was Deshaun Watson. You had members of the Texans handing out. You had members of the Texans handing out non-disclosure agreements.
No.
For Deshaun
Gave
Watson.
them to Deshaun Watson, and Deshaun Watson did that. They didn't go in there and get non-disclosure agreements. He got the non-disclosure forms from Houston. That's what he got. They weren't handing them out.
The New York Times also reported the non-disclosure agreement that Watson gave to some of his women to sign came from the Texans' director of security.
That's right. Yeah, it's not like he walked in and he said, "Hey, here's a disclosure agreement.
Non-disclosure
I
agreements.
need non-disclosure agreements." That's what Deshaun. Oh, here you go. We have some of those. Go ahead, knock yourself out. Doesn't make the team liable. Again, the players have so much power. What are you going to say? No, we're not giving you those. Really? You're going to tell your star player that? That's not the way it works. It's not the way it works.
Anyway, so here's the thing. I wouldn't mind if that's the case.
What he did, he's a sleaze, okay? Those are sleaze maneuvers, but the team is not responsible for it. He's responsible for it. That's my issue with it. He's responsible, not the team. Sorry. Unless the team was going out and getting hookers who are pretending to be masseuses, then that's something totally different.
This guy was hiring people who didn't even finish. They weren't even done with their degree in massage therapy as his masseuse.
Okay. Were they hired by the Texans? Were they hired by the Texans? No. They were hired by Deshaun Watson.
So Deshaun Watson's always liable. Nothing to the Texans.
I don't think the Texans are liable. I don't think the Texans are liable. Again, Marcellus Wiley said they had women who were doing massages in, the massage area of the organization in Denver and in Dallas. And, some of these girls, you knew that they were in for it to make you holler. I mean, that's just the way it is. I hate to tell you, professional sports is not real life. It's not real life.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's right, but it's just the way it is.
Okay, gotcha. Hodaz says here, TJ sure is snappy with the weather forecast and the Skip Bayless clips, but doesn't know how many snow games were played. Tisk, tisk. That's right, Hodaz. John C. said, come on, Grumpy. 20-plus women have accused him of sexual misconduct. There's no way he's innocent.
I didn't say he was innocent. I said he's a sleaze, but there was no crime committed. No crime. They wanted to get him.
Okay, let's move on, right? You've made your statement.
I'm trying to answer the question.
Okay, you still double down on that point over and over again. I like to subscribe to, when there's a lot of smoke like this, maybe there's a fire. Maybe, right? So I don't know.
He didn't commit a crime. There was no crime committed. I have a problem. In essence, you suspended him for a year already. Now you want to take another half a year? Doesn't seem right to me. Doesn't seem right. Seems like excessive compared to the slap on the wrist guys who get for actually committing crimes that are tried and proven guilty in a court of law. That should be punished much more severely than this.
I think the domestic violence needs to be more heavy punishment for those items too. I think some items they get under punished on, some items they get over punished on. I've said before, Calvin Ridley getting the suspension he did for betting on his team to win when he was not a part of was not actively participating in team functions was ridiculous. As I told you, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. We've already gone there, but I'm just telling you my opinion on that. I think the NFL doles out unjust suspensions at times. So maybe this is one. I want to talk about Logan Paul though, Grumpy. Just signed with the WWE. I think this is a great move by the WWE.
He's an imbecile.
Okay. Let's talk about it. I think this is a great move by the WWE.
Really? Does anyone even watch the WWE anymore? They're unwatchable.
Here's the thing. He is flamboyant, he's articulate, and he has a following, and he's physical. I'm telling you, I think this is a great signing by the WWE. I think he could help bring a little bit of life back to the WWE. I really do believe that.
He has no ability as a wrestler. He has zero ability as a wrestler.
Okay. Thank you so much for saying that, Grumpy. Thank you. Appreciate it. You're right. It doesn't matter whether they're cheering or booing. They're getting excited. Negative or positive.
Like I said, if you're not cheering or booing, how excited are you?
What? Listen to the crowd cheering. Cheering and booing. That's a reaction. That's what the WWE needs. Holy shit. Keep running over me. Go ahead. Get your point out.
I heard nothing from the crowd. Nothing. I didn't hear anything.
Thumbs down. Good villain, Grumpy. That's what it says to me. Good villain.
Here's what I think. It's not going to move the needle at all because he's a part-timer who has no cachet with the casual fan. Just doesn't.
They're trying to bring in new fans, Grumpy, not the existing fans. The existing fans are going to freaking hate him. It's going to bring in new fans that are part of the Logan game or the Paul game, whatever the hell they call it, the low Paul game. I don't know. It's going to bring new fans in. That's what they're looking to do. They're looking to grow the entertainment business they have. Okay,
but you realize he's not going to be wrestling every week. He's just going to do a couple of pay-per-views into the middle of next year. That's it. He's going to do it. It's a 6-month contract. He'll do, and his is going to be the big knockoff show, him against The Miz at WrestleMania. Mark it down. That'll be the blow off, and The Miz will beat him, and that'll be the end of the contract. That's what's going to happen.
You don't think he'll come back and continue like that every once in a while?
He doesn't. Okay, you want to know who can do stuff like that? The Rock, Brock Lesnar, Steve Austin, Hulk Hogan. They're huge.
Logan Paul has a bigger pull than freaking Brock Lesnar.
Not with wrestling fans, he doesn't.
It's not about wrestling fans. It's about them trying to bring new eyes to WWE. They're trying to bring new people in to make them wrestling fans. I want to watch because Logan Paul's here and they just bleed over and watch a few more wrestling matches and they say, oh, wow, this is actually kind of fun to watch in general. I don't just like now watching Logan Paul. I enjoy watching Rey Mysterio. Now I enjoy watching Kofi Kingston. I enjoy watching CM Punk, etc. That's how it works.
I'm just saying, unless you're a big name, you have to be out there week after week after week. I don't think people are going to say, hey, I'm going to spend $60 to watch Logan Paul wrestle. I just don't think that's going to happen.
People spend $60 to watch Logan Paul fight freaking Floyd Mayweather. So they spend money to watch him fight KSI, who I know you don't know. They spend money to watch Logan Paul because he's a very, very loyal following.
Okay, here's the thing. When they brought in Mike Tyson, that puts butts in seats.
Mike Tyson wasn't even very articulate, but yes.
Didn't have to be. He was Mike Tyson. He's a big name. This guy's a freaking circus clown. He's nothing. He brings nothing to the table.
Circuses draw audiences, Grumpy. Thank you very much. He may be a circus clown.
Circus is out of business. Circus is out of business. There are no more circuses. The woke crowd killed circuses.
Drell said Watson and Calvin really got bogus suspension, meaning people who beat their wives and girlfriends get a slap on the wrist. Yeah, I don't like that.
That's the problem I have with it.
I think that Tyreek Hill, who beat his kid and broke his kid's ribs and admitted to doing it over the phone, and his kid had he went to the doctor and he broke his ribs, and he said, yeah, I had to toughen him up or I didn't like the way he was doing. That went no suspension at all because the backlash wasn't enough. So, beating the child wasn't an issue for the NFL. Not enough to even suspend him for one game. That rubbed me the wrong way. Always has and always will.
That's my problem with it. Guys who actually commit crimes get a slap on the wrist. And like I said, they decided not to prosecute. And they're going to give this guy essentially almost a death penalty. You're going to miss a year and a half of football? My God.
On death penalty. Anyway, Joseph C. says there were crimes committed. It's a he said, she said, which is almost impossible to prosecute with no evidence. And that's why I hate the fact that Tyreek Hill got absolutely nothing. And so many of these guys get nothing or slap. Do you remember when Greg Hardy beat his wife or beat his girlfriend and gave her like a black eye. He only got like an 8-game suspension back when domestic violence wasn't really heavily penalized. Or how long of a he had to appeal it and got off early. Greg Hardy brutalized his wife, if I recall correctly, or his girlfriend at the time. Barely got a slap on the wrist.
I think he missed 6 games. I think it was 6 games.
Pull her up. Yeah, black and blues all over the place. I'm trying to black and bruised chin. I'll pull it up here for us. But yeah, all the time you just think to yourself, I'm like, ugh.
Like I said, the NFL just waves with the wind. What? Okay, now these things are important to people, so we're really going to punish him. Where that wasn't important years ago, so we let it slide. And he beat this guy up, but nobody really cared, so we let him slide. I just think it's just hypocritical. It's just typical NFL, honestly. And the gambling thing is beyond hypocritical. You're in bed with DraftKings, and here's the thing: Ridley was stupid for himself making that bet. He should have had his buddy down the street make the bet.
Anyway, okay. And the bruise on the chin, and I think she had a few more on the back.
Yeah, he gave her a beating for certain.
He beat her up, absolutely. And she went to get medical help. And what was it, like? It was originally 8, and then he got 2 games knocked off, so only had 6 games for bruising up and beating his girlfriend at the time. So, yeah, not good. Not good. They don't that Here's the thing. Now because because public opinion has shifted,
that's right.
They would give him, if he did that today, they would give him a year-long suspension.
That's right.
No doubt in my mind. No doubt. But then, because it wasn't a big issue for the league and it wasn't a big issue for people, they didn't have it as much as this is an issue that, people cannot be beating their wives. Apparently, it wasn't too much of a deal back then, or at least it wasn't in the public eye as much. It's still always been just as vile of an action, but because the public outcry wouldn't be as much, they'll give him a lesser suspension. No, only 8 games. We'll knock it down to 6 upon review when he appealed it.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon pummeled the hell out of that girl. I mean, broke her jaw. It was in college. Broke her jaw. Did he get any suspension, Joe Mixon?
No suspension. None.
None at all.
He gave her a beating. He knocked her out.
She slapped him, and he broke her jaw.
Yeah. I mean,
no worries. It happened in college, so maybe we'll give you a quick 4-game suspension. The NFL is just gross when they do stuff like that. Not equal punishment for terrible actions committed by those individuals, those NFL players who are not good people.
All I'll say is that you should really listen to what Marcellus Wiley says happens with these masseuses. It was so, and here's the thing, he lived it, and he told, exactly what his experience was. And it's a sense almost of entitlement that he said, Deshaun Watson felt he was entitled to this because he's Deshaun Watson. And I could absolutely, like I said, it's not the real world. It's not the real world.
Here's the other thing, too. I know people are going to say this happened when he was in college. It happened 2 years before he was drafted. But remember, Ezekiel Elliott served a suspension for sexual misconduct he committed in college at Ohio State.
How ridiculous is that? Think about that.
He got it, but Joe Mixon, who pummeled that lady, did not get any suspension, even though he committed it in college. But they gave it to Ezekiel Elliott because even though he committed that in college.
Yeah, I mean, you're holding him accountable for something in NFL, something that he did in college. I'm sorry. He wasn't employed by you at the time. I just, like I said, there's like no set rules that they have. It's just whatever, if they feel pressure, okay, we'll punish. If they don't feel pressure, they let it go.
When this happened, and it's the reason why I think he slipped in the draft, because the actual video came out his draft year.
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Joe Mixon. I'm still talking about here.
Right.
Because if that video did not come out, he was a 2nd-round pick still.
Yeah, he should have been a 1st rounder.
Yeah, but still, like you forget how vile some of that stuff is that was committed. Oh, Jesus H, get done with that commercial. Anyway, come on, damn it. I'm sorry. We'll get to some more comments here as that loads. Drew L says here, well, Logan Paul's boxing career ended because he got drunk and tried to punch a boxing machine and the bones practically popped. Oh, really? I didn't know that happened. Wow, what a freaking dummy. That's why he signed with the WWE. Okay, I didn't know that. Wow. By the way, Grumpy, how did the woke crowd kill circuses? I'm interested to hear. Well, they didn't like the elephants, I don't think.
That they banned all the animals.
Yeah.
And
Um,
they held protests out in front of the places, and everyone jumped on it, and they put circuses out of business. Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus out of business. There are no more circuses. You don't see circuses anymore.
I always enjoyed the circus as a kid. Joseph C. said, shame that they have collectively bargained everything because there's no way that players will accept stricter punishment for domestic violence, sex crimes, etc. There should be, though. Yeah, I think so, too. I think
they could.
uniform.
I honestly think they could collectively bargain that.
Give a little bit more money to the players than you wanted to beforehand, but make sure that there's some sort of rubric as to when this stuff happens. Because when it goes on a case-by-case basis, there's so many times where I'm like, this was nowhere near steep enough of a punishment, and this is way too severe.
But the vast majority of the players don't engage in this type of behavior. I think they'd be.
It gives the players in the NFL a bad name. Only a small portion.
And I think they'd be fine going with that because the vast majority of the players in the league don't beat their wives and don't have multiple masseuses do those things. They just don't.
Yep.
And those people are going to say, yeah, I don't care about that. I mean, if you don't commit crimes, what are you going to care if,
they're going to be more strict on if you commit a crime.
I don't do anything like that. What the hell do I care?
Oh, man. Yeah, Grumpy, we're at the end today, man. What do you want to say before we wrap things up, buddy?
I just want to say love and laughter to everyone who listens and even those who don't, from TJ and the Grumpy Old Man.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for watching the show, TJ and the Grumpy Old Man. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe on YouTube, like on Facebook, follow on Twitter. We'll see you guys Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you again, Grumpy.
My pleasure.
Oh, here you go. This one, too. Drew L. says, also, so does Alvin Kamara. He gets a slap on the wrist for what he did to that random fan, too. Yeah, I forgot to mention, there's so many of them, and they're all different. They're all different rulings, and they seem so different based on what they actually do. It just makes no sense.
That's supposedly 6 games is going to come for Kamara, supposedly. But I mean, think about it. He beat the living hell out of that guy. They let him play in the Pro Bowl. They knew, and they let him play.
Yep.
There's no way he should have played. That's the thing that drives me crazy. That's obvious. You have actual evidence of a physical assault, a felony assault, on some man by Alvin Kamara, and you just, it never really happened. We're going to let him play because guess what? It's about TV money. And then a 6-game suspension, and this other guy's going to get in sense a year and a half. I'm sorry, that just doesn't add up to me.
I'm trying to pull up the video too because they used surveillance footage in order to get it. And yeah, you're right. It happened at 6:30 in the morning. That happened.
What are you doing out at 6:30 in the morning? First of all, it's not like you're waking up and going for a run. No,
I don't think he's training at 6:30 in the morning. But yeah, he punched that man in the strip at they called it the strip. He got in a scuffle at the strip. But yeah, he played the game right after that. Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Wasn't a guy bumped into him or something?
I honestly don't even remember how it got. Here's the thing. You're always in the wrong. As an NFL player, do not ever get into a physical altercation with a normal individual or even other players outside of a football atmosphere.
He's got an entourage with him. He had an entourage with him.
He said he was on the ground when he punched him.
No,
doubtful.
Absolutely not.
Oh, yeah. 3 people in Kamara's group then stomped on his face, chest, and legs.
Yeah, come on.
Kamara landed 8 total punches on him.
Yeah, I mean, come on. They beat that guy half to death.
Yeah,
I remember seeing the photo of him. I'm like, holy crap. What, did he get hit by a car? Get hit by a truck? A bus? Everything? I mean,
outside the nightclub.
And I think it was something like where he bumped into him in a nightclub accidentally or something. And then,
oh my God. Yeah. Look at this. Jesus H.
Well, you got to show it.
I'll give me a second. I will pop up the picture. Yeah. They beat the living hell out of this guy. Oh my God. Give me a sec. I'm pulling it up. But this, right? 6. Let me ask you this. And we don't know. Maybe he didn't throw every single punch, but I'm going to tell you one thing. He's complicit in beating the hell out of this guy.
That's a serious beating right there, my friends.
That's an ass whooping. Bloody nose, probably a broken nose. He's got the cut above his nose. He's bleeding out his nose, bleeding out of his lips, eyes swollen shut, probably concussed. Who knows what the rest of his body looks like and what the bruises on the rest of his body looks like. He was beaten, physically beaten. No. Yeah. Don't worry. Even though you got arrested for that, play in the Pro Bowl for the fanfare.
And they knew. And they knew. They knew it. The NFL knew it, and they let him play anyway.
Here's the kicker. It's not like they didn't have these photos of the guy who was beaten as well.
He was
They had that
arrested.
information.
He was arrested.
Yes.
They knew it, and they just they didn't do anything. Like I said, the NFL is I love when the NFL doesn't care about this. The only thing they care about is the color freaking green, nothing else. That's all they care about. Nothing else.
I feel like sometimes we get into those we hate the NFL type of things, but yeah.
We love the NFL. We love the NFL, but
we love and hate them.
Greedy bastards.
Yeah, greedy bastards.
And don't think they ever care about anything. Do you think they cared about Black Lives Matter? Do you think they care about breast cancer? Do you think they care about the troops? They don't give a shit about anything. All they care about is money, 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 money.
Yeah. Joseph C. Anyway, let's wrap this up. Joseph C. says, great show again, guys. Good night, guys. Thanks, Joseph C. Jarrell said, I don't know if it's just me, but I hate the way Alvin Kamara looks, the nose rings, the diva ego. Yeah, he's got him and
I don't care what he looks like, but you can't just be beating. I don't know what he's like as a person, but obviously beat the living shit out of that guy. That's not a good guy.
No. Gungun says, Grumpy, when's the last time you suffered a bustle in your hedgerow?
Do you know what that's from, TJ?
No.
Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, dun 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 in your hedgerow, and then you know. Okay, fair enough. Hodaz says, good night, gents. Thanks for the great show. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back this Sunday, 8 p.m. See you then, and thank you, Grump.
My pleasure.